Hi and welcome to what I'm hoping is going to be a very quick video on the recent TunnelVision vulnerability CVE that's been released. There's been a lot of I suppose it's because I watch stuff to do with Palo Alto and I'm in all the Palo Alto groups on LinkedIn and so on, but there's been a lot of talk that tends to suggest people thinking this is specifically a Palo Alto Networks vulnerability, which of course it isn't. It can affect any remote access VPN, and I think it started to challenge if the narrative that's on the internet is anything to go by. It started to challenge the idea of the whole remote access VPN as a solution in general. Basically, what we're going to do is just going to go through how you get around it, what you need to worry about, and how we do this on Palo Alto. Okay, so basically it's a low severity anyway. As we can see here, so this is from Palo Alto Network Security Advisory themselves. I'm not just going to read through it because you can do that yourself, but basically we've got the stuff here. It's all down to DHCP option 121, which is the ability through DHCP to enter routes into the routing table. Basically, an attacker who's on the local LAN has to be on the local LAN with a malicious DHCP server could send option 121. And they can put routes into the routing table, which basically means that your traffic out then bypasses the VPN interface, the Globalprotect interface. It doesn't go down the VPN, and therefore it's not encrypted, and it goes to wherever that attacker wants to send it, so they can sniff that what would be VPN traffic. See really quickly here, so Cloud, NGFW, PanOS, and Prisma Access don't process that option anyway, so they're not affected. We have several options within, we have two options within Globalprotect app on Windows and Mac OS, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And then Globalprotect app on Linux is affected, but they're looking to release that. Okay, so let's have a look actually on the firewall at what options we've got within the Windows and Mac OS systems, and see how we can mitigate this, or actually use the solution that's suggested by Palo themselves. Okay, so I'm going to speak specifically about Mac OS and Windows at the minute, because those are, I think we see the majority of the technology. Windows and Mac OS, it's easier to control. For iOS devices, there is also a solution, but that has to be pushed out through mobile device management. I've neither got mobile device management nor an iOS device to demonstrate that, so I can't do that at the moment. So here we've got our firewall here, which is my Amsterdam firewall, and we have the portal and we have the gateway. Okay, so if the solution option is to ensure that the endpoint traffic policy enforcement is set to all traffic. Now, this is something that actually started in Globalprotect version 6 and content release 6909 or later. So this has been actually there for some time, and the idea behind endpoint traffic policy enforcement is to block anything malicious inbound, restrict any applications from bypassing the tunnel by binding their connections directly to the physical adapter, as opposed to using the Globalprotect adapter and then having to go down the tunnel, so thus bypassing your traffic policies, etc. And then specifically in our case, this is one of the things where this is where it's more pertinent to us, is preventing end users tampering with the routing table or adding a route into the routing table to bypass the Globalprotect tunnel to try and work around the configurations that have been put in place by the company. Okay, so within the portal itself here, so we've got demo portal, and then we're going to come down to our portal config and our agent. And then we're going to see our agent config there, and then application. Okay, so now we're in the application settings. Let's just quickly have a look. So if you need to mitigate anything for anybody else, so basically, my portal config now is using config selection criteria, for instance. So we can use user group, or so if you have a different type of OS, you want to apply this to a different OS, for instance. If you wanted just to apply it to Windows, for instance, and then Mac OS, you wanted to do that a different way, you could do that here. I'll go for any, and then just get rid of that, just so there's no confusion. And then if we wanted to go for a user group here, we can do pre-logon or select, but we can also add our VPN users group in here, which is a local group. So if you needed to create exceptions, for instance, that's how you do it based on that group. Okay, so in our application here, we're going to come down and we're going to find endpoint traffic policy enforcement, which is there. And next to it, we're going to find that we've got a drop down and then no. So there is no endpoint traffic policy enforcement currently. And then we have the options. We have the options as well underneath there for the different settings. Now this is taken from the admin guide. Anybody can have a look at the admin guide, but just purely and simply as a demonstration, because I know this is something, this TunnelVision vulnerability is something that is gaining some traction. So for TCP UDP based on tunnel IP address type, it's enabled for the traffic based on, as it says, the tunnel IP address type. So if the tunnel is IPv4, this feature then applies only to IPv4 traffic. If the tunnel is IPv6, it only applies to IPv6 traffic. All TCP UDP traffic speaks for itself. It's all TCP UDP traffic. Anything outside of that wouldn't then receive the endpoint traffic policy enforcement. And then you've got all traffic. So the solution for this is to set it to all traffic and click OK. And OK again. And then we can commit that to our firewall. If you don't have the ability to do that, a quick way of doing it as a workaround is what they're saying is a workaround. There's two ways of doing it. There's not two ways of doing it really. So it's, if you've got split tunnel and you are going to try and stop this connectivity, you can then use the no direct access to local network setting. The no direct access to local network is under the gateway, and again this is something that then can be controlled as well, as we'll see. So we go under agent and we can control this by the different user groups. So if you need to, so if you have for instance somebody who will need local access, you can configure it here. So you've got the client settings here, and then this is the settings that are going to be pushed down to each client, and then we can select that. So who are these? So our demo clients here. So we can select by OS, region, the source user again, IP address potentially. And what we're looking for is we're looking for the split tunnel option and then the no direct access to local network. So if we have no direct access to local network, that means that our users cannot get to things like local printers and so on. And that is something that basically, I mean, you could argue that that is necessary for the amount of remote work, and these are, we know what we're talking about here specifically is going to be remote users. So that mitigates it here. And again, if you're using full tunnel, you can just select based on user group. So if we have source user here, we can add a user group in there. And again, we've got me, or we've got our VPN users. So that's the two ways. That's the mitigation for it, and that is the actual solution and how it's it's dealt with. And then once you've got the endpoint traffic policy enforcement set, it should be noted as well that you do have the mobile device management, where it apparently ensure that include all networks is set to 1 on there, and then that's pushed out for iOS devices and so on. And then of course we've still got the issue with the Linux anyway, which needs to be, they need to release something for Globalprotect for that. So that's literally it. I just wanted to put it out there and say that's how we do it. That's where you go to do it if you got any issues and you need to fix it, or at least check and make sure to see whether you are potentially vulnerable. Let's say the endpoint traffic policy enforcement is available from Globalprotect 6 onwards, and I mean that content release version of 84.50.6909, I mean most people are going to be beyond that anyway. I mean we're already, Globalprotect 6.1 is already available and in use, and that already is sort of addressing this before necessarily it came along, I want to say, but I don't know that for absolute sure. So that's it really. Hope that was helpful. Let me know obviously if it wasn't, I suppose, or if it was, and I'll see you in the next video.